Hi, this is Todd, and I want to review a case study. Came in from a financial advisor. This will be a training case for the advisor and something that you can look at as a way to think about how you present the information. Now, in this particular situation, the client of the advisor has the ability to pay cash for their current home. So the question was, should I prepay the home with my cash, or should I keep the cash and leave it invested? Now, I'm going to address this from the software side first to look first at the current opportunity. The prepay or the invest is a bigger question that we can look at, but let's just look at the simple current situation. The client owes $904,756. That's the current balance today. They have a 6% interest rate. They're in a 50% tax bracket, state and federal, so they're in a 3% after-tax EPR. Their current payment's $56.95. And they have 318 payments to go. Okay? Now, the new 30-year mortgage with no points is what we're going to look at recommending here. The 30-year fixed jumbo today, this is about you can see a 50%, 45% LTV, good credit. So we should be able to do something around 908 for a loan amount and around 5.25 as a target for a current interest rate. So we can already see above, we're dropping the payment. Okay, but we're extending the term from 318 months to 360 months. Now that's all we'd want to do here. Remember, don't go into explaining a bunch of scenarios. I wouldn't go through and do multiple loan scenarios and things. This is just a quick question. Should the client prepay this mortgage or should they not? But we're going to do it in the context first of the mortgage opportunity, because there is a mortgage opportunity right now to refinance that mortgage to a lower interest rate to 5.25. So we look at, this is a no-cost refi, so we've got about $2,500 in closing costs. Those are going to come out of pocket. Notice what I've done is I've added and increased the loan amount from 904 to 908. What that means is that's going to generate about $3,244 at closing. So after paying these closing costs, we have about $744 net cash at closing. So the first thing I'm doing is avoiding the friction of having a client go through the process and have to pay for it. I want to position this as something that they can come to the closing table with no out-of-pocket. Now that's going to create an objection potentially, right, of, well, I have a higher loan amount now. I'm not sure I want to do that. Remember, we're always addressing the three primary questions. The first one being the transaction cost impact. What am I going to have to bring to the closing table? In this case, nothing, walking away with cash. Question two is, what's the impact of my cash flow, right? Well, if he keeps his current loan, he's got a $904,756. We said he's paying $56.95 a month. That's in interest and principal. Again, I'm keeping this really simple. I'm not even putting taxes, escrows, or any of that in there, because I'm just going to simply compare the old to the new. At 908 at 5.25, dropping that pre-tax rate by 3/4, we drop his payment by $681 a month. So again, I'm keeping it really simple here. I'm going to keep it pre-tax because I want the numbers to make sense for the client. 6% going to 5.25, $56.95 going to $5,014. That's $681 a month in savings. Now the bigger question is, should I pay the mortgage off in full or not? Or should I pay cash? And I'm going to answer it through this opportunity. This client has 27 years to go on their current mortgage. So I'm going to take the slider here and I'm going to drag it over to 27 years. So I can say first, from a property appreciation standpoint, I'm going to use 0%. Well, why would I do that? It might be 2 or 3 or 4. It doesn't matter. It's just going to increase both properties because it's the same property. So again, you're trying to make a simple point. So keep things as simple as possible. We'll keep the property appreciation the same. In 27 years, we know that his current mortgage will be paid off. He'll have zero balance. So in 27 years, he'll have a house worth $2 million with no mortgage balance. He'll have $2 million in equity. If he goes with our recommendation here, he'll have a $2 million house, but he'll still owe $166,671 in 27 years. So the equity is $1,833 at the end of 27 years. He'll have a shortfall in his equity of $166,671. That's the difference between the equity he would have in 27 years and the equity he'd have with our recommendation in 27 years. If you just stop there, hey, there's no reason to do this, right? But remember, the payment difference above, we're freeing up $681 a month, okay, over the next 27 years. So here he's going to pay interest payments of $901, here $883. He'll pay principal of $904, here $741. payments of $1,805 versus $1,624. So over that 27-year period, his difference in payments will be $181,339. So that seems like a pretty good deal, because I'm actually going to walk away here at the end of 27 years with negative 166 in equity, but positive 181 in payments. So we want to look at, well, what's the financial impact? Because this is an advisor case, and this client has got a 6% target return rate on that money over that 27-year period. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the $681 a month that's available, and there's $744 cash at closing. That's the opening balance, right? There's $744 positive cash at closing. We're just going to make this apples to apples. Got a house that's going to be worth $2 million in 27 years. We got no mortgage balance here. We got a 166 balance here. Now we have $39,888 in savings here. Why do we have that savings? Because this house is going to actually be paid off in 26.5 years. What that means is in 26.5 years it's paid off, okay, and we use 27 years, so he's going to have 6 months of saving his current mortgage payment. That's going to create a savings of about $40,000. Over here, he's got $681 a month in cash flow to save over the 27 years at 6%. That's going to grow to $552,995. So if I look at the equity in his current scenario versus this scenario here, there's a difference over 27 years of $346,436. A dramatic savings over that time period for this particular client. He could look at being debt-free not in 318 months, relatively speaking, but in 268 months. Now, we've separated, remember, the analyze page from the repay, so I could simply use this for my analysis, or I could come to the repay tab and do the exact same scenario, put in 27 years, 6%, pre-tax, normal payment, and show him graphically that he's debt-free in 26 years and 6 months and will spend out-of-pocket $1.8 million over that time period. Or if he followed our particular recommendation and plan, he could take the $744 at closing plus the $681 a month, invest that at 6%, okay, with that advisor, because we've got the 6% right here, and he's got the potential to be debt-free in 22 years, 4 months. So we can see that the savings is crossing here, and I can see it in the above chart, debt-free here, or a freedom point right here. Or he could go out to here, okay, which would be the 27-year time frame. That's where he still owes the $166,671, and up here in his investment account, he'd have $513,107. So at that point, he could write a check to pay off the mortgage and have the difference, $345,692, left over. From here, it'd be a simple matter of creating the report for the client. Now remember, the original question was, should the client pay cash for the house and pay it off in full, or should they not? Should they instead keep the money? So we can go over to one of our calculators and actually do that as a separate equation. But I want to start in the context of the software to say, let's look and see if there's an opportunity first where we can simply show the client how to increase their wealth by over $300,000 by simply refinancing to a lower interest rate if that's available to them today, and then taking that monthly payment savings and saving it over that time period for that particular client. That's a pretty good opportunity. Now I'm going to click on calculators, and we're going to go over here and click on the prepay or invest. And I can do prepay or invest or pay off or keep. Pay off or keep is designed for a lump sum comparison versus prepay or invest is designed for a monthly prepay. So we're going to use pay off or keep, and we're going to go through and look at this particular scenario and look at this as a separate decision altogether. So let's look at this differently. Now we're back to the decision, forgetting about the refinance to a lower interest rate. Let's look at the current situation. His payment's $56.95, his interest rate 6%. He has a current balance of $905,000. Okay, the loan interest is deductible. Okay, for this particular client, they believe we were using a 6%. We've got a bracketed sort of a historical average here of rates. So I'm going to use 6.41. This is going to overstate it just a little bit. But the loan interest is deductible. 6.41 is our target long-term growth rate, and that's after tax. So the investment type is going to be tax deferred. The investment type is going to be tax deferred because we're not going to be paying. We're going to pay taxes on this. So he's assuming that this client can earn about 6%, 6.4 net over this 27-year time period. So it's a different way to look at it. When I click the calculate comparison, it's going to run our tables, and what it's going to do is compare borrowing to paying off. If I borrow, then I keep that loan balance that I have of $905 starting out, and I pay my interest, and I get my tax deductions each month, and I get to invest this money at that 6.41, and that money's going to grow, right? If I pay off my mortgage, then I get to save the $56.95 a month, and I get to earn interest on that. And this is my investment balance over here. So what we're really looking for is what's the difference in these investment balances if I'm leaving the lump sum here and letting it grow and making the $56.95 a month payment, or am I paying $56.95 a month towards my investment because I have no mortgage because I've paid it off in full. And we come right down to the bottom, and we can say at the end of 27 years or 318 months, we have about 6.3 in this account, in the investment account here, with a mortgage balance that's gotten to zero, and we have over here growth of about 4.75. It's about a $1.5 million difference. So think about this cumulatively. If I, in this situation, based on the advisor's assumptions, and it's going to be less than this because I'm using 6.4, it's probably he wanted to use a 6, so I apologize for that. But let's just say it's $1 million difference. It's not going to be that much less, but it's going to save $1 million. Then the decision to prepay or invest is going to create a savings for this client of $1 million in the situation. On top of that, if the client were to follow the opportunity here to refinance to a lower interest rate and get that $681 a month over the 27 years and invest that in addition to the other savings, you could increase that savings by another $300,000. So we're talking about a $1.3 million opportunity to really look at how we manage liabilities into assets. So I hope this has helped. It's a simple question, but there's two ways to approach the question. I could have approached it very quickly with just a calculator, going in and putting in the client's assumptions for the loan balance, the current payment, the interest rate, if the interest is deductible, the return on the investment, their tax bracket, and whether or not this is a pre-tax or after-tax investment type. But I can do that and go in and look at the actual case study for the client and see if there's an opportunity here, which we can clearly see that there is. Thanks very much and have a fantastic day.